The lights on Research Station Athena 7 hummed quietly in the early morning cycle. Jiho walked through the xenobiology section with his tablet in hand. He was young, only 22 years old, and this was his first real job after finishing his studies. Everything about the station still felt new and exciting to him. He stopped at each containment field and checked the readings. Temperature, oxygen levels, pressure, everything looked normal. The creatures inside their chambers slept or moved slowly. Some looked like nothing from Earth. There were things with too many legs, things that floated in thick liquid, and things that changed colors as they breathed. Jiho loved this work. Back on Earth, he had dreamed of seeing alien life. Now he saw it every day. He smiled as he watched a small creature that looked like a floating jellyfish. It pulsed with soft blue light inside its tank. His tablet beeped. The power reading on Containment Field 7 flickered. Jiho frowned. That was the Razorback enclosure. He walked faster toward it. The Razorback cub was awake. It pressed against the energy barrier, testing it with one clawed foot. The creature was about the size of a large dog, covered in dark scales with bright orange markings. Its species came from a world with high gravity and dangerous predators. Even the young ones were built to fight. Jiho checked his tablet again. The power fluctuation was getting worse. Before he could call for help, the containment field sparked and died. The Razorback cub burst out of its enclosure. Jiho stumbled backward. His heart pounded in his chest. The cub looked at him with eyes that seemed too intelligent. It made a sound, something between a hiss and a growl. Then it ran. Jiho hit the emergency button on the wall. Alarms started blaring throughout the section. Red lights flashed. His hands shook as he grabbed his communicator. Security! We have a containment breach in xenobiology. The Razorback is loose! Within seconds, he heard running footsteps. The security team arrived fast. Gorshak led them. He was Kryn, a reptilian species known for their strength and courage. He stood over 2 meters tall, his scales a deep green color. Behind him came 3 other security officers from different species. Where did it go? Gorshak asked. His voice was calm despite the situation. Jiho pointed down the corridor. That way. It's fast. The security team moved forward with their stun weapons ready. They followed standard protocol. The goal was always to capture, never to harm. These were research specimens, valuable and often endangered in their homeworlds. Jiho followed behind them, feeling useless but unable to just stand there. They found the Razorback cub in the storage section. It had cornered itself behind some containers. Its orange markings glowed brighter now, which meant it was scared or angry. Maybe both. Gorshak raised his hand, signaling his team to spread out. They moved slowly, trying not to frighten the creature more. One officer activated a containment net. Another prepared a tranquilizer. Easy, Gorshak said softly. Nobody wants to hurt you. He stepped closer. The Razorback cub watched him. For a moment, everything was still. Then Gorshak reached out with one large hand, trying to guide the creature toward the containment net. The cub struck like lightning. Its jaws clamped down on Gorshak's finger. Gorshak grunted but didn't pull away. Pulling away would cause more damage. Instead, he stayed very still. The Razorback held on for 3 long seconds, then let go and tried to dart past him. But the security team was ready. The containment net activated, creating an energy field around the cub. It squealed and fought, but the field held. Within moments, they had it secured in a transport cage. Jiho rushed to Gorshak. The Kryn guard looked at his finger. Blood dripped from the puncture wounds, dark purple against his green scales. Are you okay? Jiho asked. Gorshak laughed, a deep rumbling sound. Just a bite. I've had worse. He wrapped a cloth around his finger. The little one has spirit. That was when Da-Yun arrived. She was human, the head of security for the human contingent on the station. Da-Yun was 29 years old, shorter than Gorshak, but she moved like a fighter. Her black hair was tied back tight and her dark eyes took in the scene instantly. Status? She asked. Contained, Gorshak said. He held up his injured hand. Got a little love bite for my trouble. Da-Yun looked at the wound, then at the Razorback cub in its cage. Her expression didn't change, but something in her posture shifted. Jiho noticed it. The other security officers noticed it too. They had all worked with humans before. They knew that stillness. You're fortunate it wasn't me, Da-Yun said quietly. Gorshak chuckled. Why? Would you have dodged faster? No, Da-Yun said. Her voice was flat, emotionless. I would have broken its jaw before my brain caught up with my reflexes. It would have been instinct. I wouldn't have been able to stop myself. The corridor went quiet. Even the razorback cub stopped squealing. Gorshak stared at her. You're serious? Yes. Datwon looked at him directly. That's why I didn't get close to it. I know what I am. You're lucky it bit you and not me. The cub would have been hurt and I would have to live with that. She turned and walked away, already speaking into her communicator about securing the containment fields and checking for more power fluctuations. Jiho stood there, processing what he had just heard. He had worked on the station for 3 months, but he still didn't fully understand humans. Not really. Everyone said humans were protective, kind, good to work with. But there was always that edge. That warning. Gorshak looked at his finger again, then at the departing human. He said something in his own language. One of the other security officers, a Velcran with multiple eyes, clicked its mandibles in agreement. What did you say? Jiho asked. Gorshak wrapped his finger properly now. I said that humans are the strangest species in the galaxy. They apologize for what they might do before they even do it. They fear themselves more than we fear them. From the corner of the corridor, someone else had been watching. Krithnal, a Velcron researcher, stood with recording equipment. The insectoid scientist had been documenting behavior patterns on the station for months. This human's reaction was fascinating. Krithnal's multiple eyes whirred as they focused. The researcher made notes on a data pad. Humans were supposed to be cooperative, peaceful members of the coalition. Everyone knew this, but everyone also knew something else, something that wasn't in the official reports. Humans were dangerous, not because they wanted to be, because they were built that way. And the most frightening thing about humans wasn't their capacity for violence, it was their awareness of it. They knew exactly what they were capable of, and they worked very hard to control it. Krithnal saved the recording. This would be important data. The Science Council would want to see this. The razorback cub was returned to its enclosure. The containment fields were repaired and strengthened. Life on the station returned to normal. But Jiho couldn't stop thinking about what Daun had said. About reflexes faster than thought. About knowing what you are. That night he sat in the common area with other junior staff members. They were from different species, all young, all new to this kind of work. Someone mentioned the incident with the razorback. Did you hear what the human said? A Throsian asked. Its translucent body rippled with curiosity. About breaking the creature's jaw? She was exaggerating, another replied. Humans do that, but Jiho remembered Daun's face. The flatness in her voice. She hadn't been exaggerating. She had been warning them. He thought about asking the older staff members about it, the ones who had worked with humans for years. But something told him he would find out soon enough. The station was big, but not that big. Eventually, he would understand what made humans different. Eventually, he would see why other species regarded them with such careful respect. 3 days after the incident with the razorback cub, Jiho found himself in the station's common dining area. The space was large enough to accommodate different species with their various environmental needs. Separate sections had different atmospheric controls, temperatures, and even gravity adjustments. He sat at a table in the standard oxygen section, eating something that was supposed to taste like Korean food but didn't quite make it. Space station food never did. As he ate, he noticed Rax sitting nearby. Rax was Throsian, an aquatic species that looked like a person made of water. His body was translucent with swirls of color moving through it. He wore a special suit that kept him moist, but his head was exposed under a personal atmosphere field. Rax was an ambassador, one of the senior diplomats on the station. With Rax were 2 new arrivals to the station. Jiho had seen them earlier that day during orientation. They were young like him and looked nervous about their first assignments. The humans are actually quite pleasant to work with, Rax was saying. His voice came from a translator device, smooth and calm. Very helpful, very patient. You'll find them easy colleagues. One of the new arrivals, a young Velcran, clicked its mandibles nervously. But we heard stories about how dangerous they can be. Rax's colors shifted to a warm orange, which meant he was being thoughtful. Jiho found himself leaning closer to listen. The stories are true, Rax said, but they're also misleading if you don't understand context. What do you mean? The other newcomer asked. This one was Kryn, smaller than Gorshak but with similar features. Rax gestured with a fluid hand. Jiho decided to abandon any pretense of not listening and moved to their table. "Mind if I join?" he asked. "I've been wondering about this too." "Please," Rax said. "You're human, yes? Perhaps you can help me explain." Jiho sat down. "I'm pretty new myself. Only been here 3 months. But I've noticed things." Rax nodded. His colors swirled faster, a sign he was pleased to have an example present. "Let me tell you about the Torvian mining disaster," Rax began. "This happened about 15 years ago. I was there. I saw it myself." The two newcomers leaned forward. Even Jiho was interested. He had heard mentions of Torvian, but never the full story. Torvian was a mining colony on a moon with unstable geology, Rax continued. One day, a massive quake hit. The main facility started collapsing. We had maybe 20 minutes before everything came down. 300 workers were trapped inside. He paused, his colors turning darker. The rescue coordinator was Kryn, very experienced, very capable. He assessed the situation and made the call. The structure was too unstable. Sending rescue teams in would just create more casualties. Which was the right decision by every logical standard. But, Jiho asked because he could hear the but coming. But there were 5 humans on the emergency response team, Rax said. They heard the call. They looked at each other for maybe 3 seconds. Then they just went in. Didn't ask permission. Didn't argue. They grabbed equipment and entered the collapsing structure. The young Velcron's eyes widened. That's insane. Yes, Rax agreed. It was. The Kryn coordinator tried to stop them. But humans are fast when they want to be. By the time anyone could react, they were already inside. What happened? Jiho asked, though he thought he knew. They saved 273 workers. Rax said quietly. Got them out through maintenance tunnels that everyone else said were too dangerous to use. The humans carried people, dragged them, pushed them through gaps barely wide enough. They were the last ones out. The structure collapsed 30 seconds after they cleared the entrance. Nobody spoke for a moment. All 5 humans survived? The young Kryn asked. 4 did, Rax said. 1 was crushed by debris. She stayed behind to lift a support beam so others could pass. Her name was Park Mira. There's a memorial for her on Torvian now. Jiho felt something tight in his chest. He hadn't known about Park Mira. They didn't teach that story back on Earth, or maybe they did and he had been too young to pay attention. That's just one story, Rax continued. There are others. Do you know about Colony Viridian? Both newcomers shook their heads. Jiho did too. At that moment, someone else joined their table. It was Shock, one of the senior human administrators on the station. He was 45 years old with gray starting to show in his black hair. His face had the kind of lines that came from years of making difficult decisions. Are you telling war stories about humans, Rax? Sayok asked with a slight smile. Educational stories, Rax corrected. These young ones need to understand their colleagues. Sayok sat down. Viridian, then. I can tell that one. I was there. He pulled out his tablet and showed them an image. It was a school building, or what was left of one. The walls were scorched and parts of the roof had collapsed. Colony Viridian was a mixed settlement, Sayok began. Different species living together, trying to make it work. It mostly did work, too. Until raiders came, his face darkened. They hit during school hours. Wanted to take hostages, children mostly. Easier to control parents when you have their kids. 3 raiders made it inside before security could respond. They had weapons, body armor, the work. What happened? The young Velcron whispered. There was a human teacher in that building, Sayok said. His name was Dong-hyun. He taught mathematics to mixed species classes. By all accounts, he was quiet, kind, patient, never raised his voice. Sayok swiped to another image. It showed a man in handcuffs covered in blood. His eyes looked empty. When security arrived 5 minutes later, they found Dong-hyun standing in the hallway. All 3 raiders were unconscious. 2 had broken bones. 1 had severe head trauma. The children were safe. He fought 3 armed raiders? Jiho asked. Alone? He didn't fight them, Sayok said quietly. He destroyed them. The security footage showed he moved like something else. Not a teacher. Not a person. Just pure violence with a purpose. He didn't stop hitting until they couldn't move anymore. The table was silent. Was he arrested? The young Kryn asked. No, Sayok said. Self-defense, defense of others. Clear case. But Dong-hyun quit teaching after that. Said he couldn't trust himself around children anymore. He was afraid of what he had become even though he saved them. Rax's colors shifted to deep blue, which meant sadness. Jiho understood why. The story wasn't just about human capability, it was about human cost. This is what you need to understand about humans, Rex said to the newcomers. They are not naturally aggressive. They don't seek violence. But they have a switch inside them. When someone they care about is in danger, that switch flips. And when it does, they become something different. We call it going feral, Siak added. It's not a good translation, but it's close enough. It's like our civilized parts shut down and something ancient takes over. We still have objectives, still have purpose. But the methods become primitive. Effective, but primitive. The young Velcron clicked nervously. How do we know when a human might go feral? You don't, Seok said bluntly. We barely know ourselves. That's what Daun was talking about with the razorback cub. She wasn't threatening it. She was stating a fact. If something attacks her, she will respond before she can think about responding. It's reflex, Jiho thought about this. He thought about Park Mira lifting the support beam. About Dong Hyun standing in that hallway. About Da Yun's flat voice saying she would have broken the cub's jaw. Is this why other species are nervous around humans? He asked. Yes and no, Rax said. We're nervous because humans are unpredictable. But we also trust them more than anyone else when it matters. If I had children and they were in danger, I would want a human protecting them. Because I know that human would die before letting harm come to them. He paused, colors swirling. In fact, that's exactly what's about to happen. What do you mean? Seok asked, suddenly alert. A transport is passing through our sector tomorrow, Rax explained. It's carrying juvenile passengers. 47 of them from 12 different species. Their parents specifically requested that human security handle the escort detail. Seok nodded slowly. Because of our reputation. Yes, Da-un has already been assigned. I believe Hyunwoo volunteered as well. Jiho knew Hyunwoo. The xenobiologist was 34 years old, calm and professional. He had helped Jiho several times with procedures and protocols. It was hard to imagine him as dangerous, but then again, it had probably been hard to imagine Dong Hyun as dangerous too, until it mattered. The conversation shifted to other topics, but Jiho's mind stayed on what he had learned. Humans were trusted. Humans were feared. Both were true at the same time. And the humans themselves seemed to carry that contradiction with a quiet awareness that was somehow sad. Later that night, Jiho saw Da-un in the corridor. She was reviewing something on her tablet, walking with her usual efficient stride. He almost called out to her, wanted to ask her questions, but he didn't. Because he realized he was a little afraid of the answers, not afraid of Da-un, afraid of understanding her too well. The briefing room was crowded the next morning. Da-yun stood at the front, her tablet connected to the large display screen. Images of various alien juveniles cycled across it. Each one looked completely different from the last. Hyunwoo sat in the front row taking notes. His calm face showed concentration as he studied each species. Next to him sat Gorshak, his injured finger now properly bandaged. 3 more security officers filled the other seats. 2 were Kryn, 1 was Velcran. Jiho had been invited to observe. He sat in the back trying to stay out of the way but absorbing everything. The transport arrives in 6 hours, Da-yun began. Her voice was professional, clear. 47 juvenile passengers from 12 different species. They're traveling with only 2 adult escorts. That's why we're here. She tapped her tablet and the display changed. Now it showed a diagram of the station's docking area. We've prepared temporary housing in Section 4. Multiple environmental zones set up for different atmospheric needs. Hyunwoo will walk us through the biological requirements. Hyunwoo stood and took over the presentation. He moved with the easy confidence of someone who knew his subject completely. Let's start with the Velcran juveniles, he said. The screen showed small insectoid creatures with soft, not yet hardened shells. We have 6 of them. They need higher humidity, around 70%. Temperature between 20 and 25 degrees. They communicate through color patterns on their shells, but they're still learning, so responses might be delayed. He clicked to the next image. These looked like small clouds with eyes. Throsian young. 8 of them. They need constant moisture and lower gravity. We've set up a special chamber with water vapor and gravity plates adjusted to 0.6 standard. Don't let their appearance fool you. They're fragile at this age. Even a small impact could cause serious injury. The images continued. Scaly creatures. Furry ones. Things that looked like plants. Things that looked like rocks. Each had specific needs. Temperature, atmosphere, gravity. light levels, sound sensitivity. Jiho's head spun trying to remember it all. How could anyone keep track of so many requirements? But Hyunwoo went through each one methodically. He didn't use notes. He just knew. For each species, he explained their needs, their behaviors, their warning signs if something was wrong. The youngest passenger is 4 months old in its species' developmental cycle, Hyunwoo said, showing an image of something that looked like a small purple sphere with tentacles. The oldest is equivalent to a human 12-year-old. Most fall somewhere in between. Gorshak raised his hand. Expected threat level? Minimal, Dawoon answered, taking back control of the briefing. This is a routine escort. The transport is traveling on established routes through coalition space. The only reason they're stopping here is to refuel and give the passengers a break from ship life. They'll be here for 18 hours, then continue their journey. Then why the security detail? One of the Kryn officers asked. Dayoon's expression didn't change, but something in her posture did. Jiho noticed it again. That subtle shift. Because they're children, she said simply. 47 children far from home. The parents wanted to make sure they're protected. They asked for humans specifically. Nobody questioned it further. Everyone in the room understood the reputation. Humans and children. It was a known thing across the galaxy. The briefing continued with logistics. Duty rotations, emergency procedures, communication protocols. Dayoon covered everything with thorough efficiency. When it ended, Jiho approached Hyunwoo. Can I ask you something? Jiho said. Hyunwoo looked up from his tablet. Of course. Why did you volunteer for this? You're a xenobiologist, not security. Hyunwoo was quiet for a moment. His eyes moved to the screen, which still showed images of the juvenile passengers. I have a daughter, he said finally. She's 7. Back on Earth with her mother. When I look at these passengers, I see her. Different species, different biology, but still children. Still someone's son or daughter. Someone who deserves to be safe. He looked at Jiho directly. His calm face showed something deeper now. Something fierce. If someone tried to hurt my daughter, I would tear them apart with my bare hands. And I would sleep fine afterward. That's just how it is. So when someone asks me to help protect other children, I volunteer. Because maybe somewhere someone is protecting my daughter too. Jiho nodded slowly. He was starting to understand. The protectiveness wasn't just a trait. It was something fundamental to humans. Something that went beyond logic. Across the room, Krithnal was recording again. The Velkrun scientist had been present at the briefing, sitting in the corner with various monitoring equipment. Now the researcher's multiple eyes focused on Hyunwoo, recording his words, his expression, everything. Krithnal made notes. Human parental instincts extended across species boundaries. This was documented before, but seeing it expressed so clearly was valuable data. The Science Council would want detailed reports. Hours passed. The station prepared for the arrival. Section 4 was transformed into a temporary nursery. Each environmental zone was tested and retested. Food appropriate for each species was prepared. Medical equipment stood ready. Entertainment and learning materials were set up. Dae-Yoon walked through every area personally. She checked each system, each safety protocol. Hyunwoo followed, verifying that the biological requirements were met precisely. Jiho helped where he could. He carried supplies, adjusted equipment, learned as he went. He watched how the humans worked. There was a focus to them. An intensity that the other species didn't quite have. Finally, the transport ship arrived. It was larger than Jiho expected, a civilian vessel designed for mixed species travel. It docked smoothly with the station. Dawoon and Hyunwoo stood at the airlock to greet them. Gorshak and the other security officers positioned themselves nearby. Jiho watched from a respectful distance. The airlock opened. The 2 adult escorts came out first. One was Throsian, one was Velkrun. They both looked exhausted. Thank you for having us, the Throsian said. Its colors were dim, a sign of fatigue. The children have been traveling for 3 weeks. They need space to move, to play. We have everything prepared, Hyunwoo assured them. Each species has appropriate accommodations. Then the children started coming through, one by one in small groups, sometimes supported by floating carrier devices. Jiho watched them emerge. So many different forms. Some walked, some floated, some crawled. Some were quiet. Some made sounds and frequencies Jiho could barely hear. Each one was clearly tired from the long journey. But they were also curious. Their eyes, or whatever they used for eyes, took in the station with wonder. This was an adventure for them. A break in the routine of ship life. Dayun knelt down to be at eye level with a small Velcran juvenile. The creature's shell showed colors that meant nervousness. "Hello," Dayun said softly. Her voice was completely different from her usual professional tone. Gentle, warm. "My name is Dayun. We're going to take care of you while you're here. Would you like to see your room?" The juvenile's colors shifted to curious yellow. It reached out one small limb and touched Daun's hand. Jiho saw Daun's expression. Something in her face softened. This was the other side of what Seok had talked about. The same protective instinct that could turn violent was now manifesting as gentleness. Hyunwoo was helping a group of Throsian young. They floated around him, their translucent bodies pulsing with excitement. He guided them toward their specialized chamber, speaking in calm tones, making sure each one felt safe. The process took over an hour, getting all 47 juveniles settled in their appropriate environments, making sure each one had what they needed, answering questions from the curious ones, comforting the nervous ones. Finally, everyone was situated. The adult escorts went to their own quarters to rest. The security team took up positions throughout Section 4. Dae-yoon stood in the central corridor, watching the monitors that showed each environmental chamber. Hyunwoo stood beside her. "They'll be fine," Hyunwoo said quietly. "I know," Daeun replied, but she kept watching the monitors anyway. Jiho understood why. It wasn't that she didn't trust the systems or the other security officers. It was that she couldn't help herself. While those children were on this station, they were her responsibility. And humans took that kind of responsibility seriously. Deadly seriously. The station's sensors detected the unidentified ship 3 hours later. It was on the edge of their scanning range, moving slowly, running with minimal emissions. Almost invisible, almost. The duty officer sent the alert to Daeun immediately. She looked at the sensor data, her face going completely blank. That stillness again. That moment before the storm. "All security personnel to alert status," she said into her communicator. Her voice was perfectly calm, perfectly controlled. "We have an unidentified contact approaching. Vector suggests they're targeting the transport ship." She looked at the monitors showing the sleeping juveniles. Then she looked at Hyunwoo. Neither of them said anything. They didn't need to. If someone was coming for these children, they were going to learn something about humans, something the galaxy had learned before but apparently needed to be taught again. You don't threaten human children, and you definitely don't threaten children that humans have decided to protect. The unidentified ship closed in fast. Sensors showed it was bigger than expected. Military-grade hull. Weapons active. No friendly signatures. Pirates. Seok arrived at the command center within minutes of the alert. He took in the tactical display with one quick glance. His expression hardened. "Hail them," he ordered. The communications officer tried. No response. The pirate ship continued its approach. It was close enough now that the station's weapons could target it. But firing first would violate coalition law. They had to wait. "Evacuate the juveniles to the core shelter," Seok said. His voice stayed calm, but Jiho could hear the edge in it. "Move them now." Daeun was already on it. She coordinated with Hyunwoo, both of them moving through Section 4 with quick efficiency. The sleeping juveniles were gently woken. The adult escorts helped gather everyone. Some of the children were confused. Some were scared. The Velcran juvenile shells showed frightened red colors. The Throsian young pulsed erratically. "It's okay," Hyunwoo told them, keeping his voice steady. "We're just moving you somewhere safer. Like a game. We're going to the special protected room." Daeun helped carry the smallest ones. Jiho watched her face. It was focused, controlled, but he could see something else now. Something building beneath the surface, like pressure before an explosion. The pirate ship fired on the station's outer hull. Not a killing shot, a warning. Then it launched boarding pods, 3 impacts, 3 breach points. Alarms shrieked throughout the station. "Security teams to breach points," Seok ordered. "Standard containment protocols. Non-lethal force authorized." Gorshak led the first response team. His injured finger was healed enough to fight. They reached breach point 1 and found 6 pirates cutting through the inner airlock. Kryn pirates, ironically. Rogue faction, operating outside coalition law. The security team engaged with stun weapons and containment fields. "Standard procedure. Disable, don't destroy." The pirates were better armed, but the station team had training and defensive positions. At Breach Point 2, similar scene. Pirates attempting entry, security holding them back. Everything was going according to protocol. Then Breach Point 3 opened directly into the maintenance corridor near Section 4. 4 pirates burst through. They knew exactly where they were going. This wasn't random. They had intelligence about the transport, about the juveniles. Dayun was moving the last group of children when the pirates appeared at the far end of the corridor. She saw them. They saw her. They saw the juveniles. Everything changed. "Get behind me," Dayun said to the children. Her voice was different now, colder, flatter. "Stay behind me and close your eyes." The pirates advanced. They had weapons drawn. Big, confident, experienced fighters. They probably thought one human security officer wouldn't be much problem. They were wrong. Dayun moved before they could raise their weapons. She covered the distance between them in seconds. No stun weapon, no containment field, just her. The first pirate didn't see her coming until she was on him. She hit him in the throat with the edge of her hand. He went down choking. The second one tried to swing his rifle around. Dayun grabbed it, twisted it out of his hands, and used it as a club to break his knee. The third pirate managed to get a shot off. It missed. Dayun closed the gap and drove her elbow into his face. The sound of breaking bone echoed in the corridor. The fourth pirate was smart enough to be terrified. He backed away, weapon shaking in his hands. Dayun didn't give him time to use it. She was on him like a storm, disarming him with movements too fast to follow, then putting him on the ground with brutal efficiency. 10 seconds. 4 pirates down, none of them dead, but all of them broken in various ways. Dayun stood there breathing hard. Her hands were shaking, not from fear, from adrenaline, from the effort of controlling herself. Hyunwoo arrived seconds later with more juveniles. He saw the scene, saw Dayun standing over the disabled pirates, saw her hands shaking. "Are you okay?" he asked quietly. "Get the children to the shelter," Dayun said without looking at him. "I need to check the other breach points." She walked away before he could respond. Her stride was stiff, controlled, fighting for composure. Hyunwoo herded the children forward, but then he heard sounds from another corridor, fighting, shouting. More pirates had made it deeper into the station than anyone thought. 3 of them appeared around a corner. They saw Hyunwoo. They saw the 15 juvenile passengers with him. They smiled. This was what they came for. Valuable hostages. Hyunwoo put himself between the pirates and the children. He didn't have a weapon, didn't have armor, just his body and his will. "You really want to do this?" one pirate asked, amused. "You're a scientist. Look at your uniform. You're not a fighter." Hyunwoo's calm face showed no emotion, but inside something ancient awakened. The same thing that had driven his ancestors to chase prey across endless plains. The same thing that made humans the most persistent hunters in Earth's history. "I'm a father," Hyunwoo said quietly. "Try me." The pirates moved forward. Hyunwoo met them. He wasn't as fast as Dayun, wasn't as trained, but he had something else. Absolute determination. Complete disregard for his own safety when weighed against the children behind him. The first pirate grabbed him. Hyunwoo grabbed back, using the pirate's momentum to throw him into the wall. The pirate was bigger, stronger, but Hyunwoo didn't let go. He held on with grip that seemed impossible for his size, using pressure points he had learned in mandatory human combat training. The second pirate hit him. Hard. Hyunwoo's head snapped back. Blood ran from his nose. He didn't fall. He turned and kicked the pirate's knee. When the pirate dropped, Hyunwoo hit him in the temple with his elbow. The third pirate had a weapon. He fired. The shot grazed Hyunwoo's shoulder. The xenobiologist didn't even slow down. He charged, taking 2 more hits that his body armor partially absorbed, and tackled the pirate. They went down together. What happened next was ugly. Methodical violence without grace or skill. Just a human refusing to stop. Refusing to quit. Refusing to let anyone past him. When Gorshak arrived with reinforcements, he found Hyunwoo standing over 3 unconscious pirates. The human was bleeding from multiple wounds. His calm face was covered in blood, but he was still standing between the pirates and the children. "Medical team to Corridor 7, Gorshak called into his communicator. He approached Hyunwoo carefully. "The children are safe now. You can stand down." Hyunwoo blinked. Some awareness returned to his eyes. He looked at his hands. They were shaking worse than Daeun's had been. "I didn't mean," he started to say. "You did exactly what you needed to do," Gorshok said firmly. "Come on, let's get you patched up." Throughout the station, the fight continued for another 20 minutes. But the outcome was never in doubt. The pirates had expected soft targets. Research personnel, scientists, maybe some basic security. What they got was humans with a purpose. Daeun appeared at 2 more breach points. Each time she moved like something unleashed. Each time pirates went down. Some tried to surrender. She accepted their surrender but kept them on the ground with force that left no room for second chances. Jiho watched from a security station. He saw it all on the monitors. Saw the transformation of people he thought he knew. Saw them become something else. Something terrifying and magnificent at the same time. Krithnal recorded everything. The Velkran researchers' equipment captured it all. The speed, the violence, the absolute commitment. But more importantly, it captured what happened after. Because once the threat was neutralized, once the pirates were secured, the humans changed back. The violence drained away as quickly as it had appeared. They returned to checking on the juveniles, making sure everyone was safe, speaking in soft voices to comfort the frightened children. The switch flipped both ways. On and off. Predator to protector in seconds. When it was over, Sayok stood in the command center and looked at the casualty report. 23 pirates captured, all alive. All injured to various degrees, but alive. 0 juvenile passengers harmed. 3 security personnel injured, all human. None critically. The transport's adult escort stood with him. They had seen the entire thing through the monitors. They looked shaken. "I knew humans were protective," the Throsian escort said quietly. Its colors were a mix of awe and fear. "But I didn't truly understand until now." Siok nodded. "Most people don't. We work very hard to make sure you don't have to." In the medical bay, Hyunwoo sat while a doctor treated his wounds. Daeun came in, also bleeding from minor cuts. They looked at each other. Neither said anything. They didn't need to. They both knew what they had become, what they had done. And they both knew they would do it again without hesitation if needed. That was the weight humans carried. The knowledge of their own capacity for violence, the responsibility to control it, and the willingness to unleash it when something precious needed protecting. In the core shelter, the juvenile passengers were finally settling down. They had been scared, but now they felt safe. Because the humans had made them safe, had stood between them and danger without hesitation. One small Velkran juvenile approached the entrance to the shelter. Its shell colors shifted nervously. It had seen Daeun in the corridor, seen her fight, seen what she became. The color pattern on its shell changed to the shade that meant one thing: predator. The station slowly returned to normal. Repair crews fixed the breach points. Security processed the captured pirates. Medical staff treated the injured. Life continued, but something had changed. Everyone had seen what happened. The monitors had shown everything. Every species on the station now had a different understanding of their human colleagues. Daeun sat alone in the observation deck. The room was empty except for her. She stared out at the stars, her hands still trembling slightly. Not from fear. From the memory of violence. From knowing what she had done and that she would do it again. She heard footsteps behind her. Didn't turn around. Knew who it was by the sound. "You should be in medical," Hyunwoo said. His voice was rough from the fight. He had bandages on his shoulder and face. "So should you," Daeun replied. Hyunwoo sat down beside her. They both looked at the stars in silence for a while. "I've never done that before," Hyunwoo said finally. "Never heard anyone like that. I mean, I had the training. All humans do. But actually doing it," he stopped. Couldn't find the words. "It feels wrong afterward." Daeun said quietly, "Even when it was right. Even when it was necessary." That's the part nobody tells you about. Being human means living with that contradiction. "I keep seeing my hands," Hyunwoo said. He looked at them now, held them up in the starlight. "These are the same hands I used to help injured animals, to care for specimens, to be gentle. But today they were weapons." "They're still the same hands," Daeun told him. "That's the point. We can be both things, gentle and violent, caregiver and fighter. It's not a flaw. It's what makes us human." "Does it get easier?" he asked. "The guilt?" No, Da-un said honestly. But you learned to carry it. You remember why you did it. Those children are safe because of what we did. That has to be enough, Hyunwoo nodded slowly. He understood intellectually, but the emotional weight was still heavy. Maybe it always would be. The door opened again. Gorshak entered, saw them, and almost left, but Da-un gestured for him to stay. I came to check on you, Gorshak said. He approached slowly, respectfully. Both of you fought well today. Saved many lives. We did what we had to, Hyunwoo said. Gorshak sat down with them. The big Kryn looked at his bandaged finger, the one the razorback cub had bitten days ago. It seemed like a lifetime ago now. I understand now, he said. What you meant that day. About being fortunate it was me the cub bit, not you. Da-un looked at him. Waited. You were not threatening the cub, Gorshak continued. You were warning us. Warning yourself. Because you know what you are capable of, and you work very hard to control it. Yes, Da-un said simply. This is why humans are respected in the coalition, Gorshak said. Not because you are strong. Many species are strong. Not because you are smart. Many species are smart. But because you understand your own capacity for violence, and you consciously choose to restrain it. That takes wisdom most species never develop. Neither human responded. They just sat there carrying their weight in silence. Across the station, Jiho sat with the other junior staff members. Everyone was talking about what happened. Processing it. Trying to understand. I've worked with humans for 2 years, a young Throsian said. Its colors showed confusion. They were always kind. Always helpful. I thought I knew them. But today I saw something else. They are still kind, Jiho said. He was surprised to find himself defending his species to aliens. They are still helpful. But they are also protectors. Both things are true. The Velcron from earlier, the one who had been nervous about working with humans, clicked thoughtfully. I am glad they are on our side. Everyone agreed with that. In his research lab, Krithnal reviewed the recordings. The Velcran scientist had hours of footage. Human behavior under stress, human protective instincts, human violence controlled and directed. It was fascinating, terrifying, important. Krithnal began writing the report for the Science Council. This would change how the galaxy understood humans. Not just as members of the coalition, but as something unique. A species that bridged the gap between civilization and survival instinct. The juvenile passengers were finally calm. They had been moved back to their chambers after the all-clear. Most were sleeping now. The excitement and fear had exhausted them, but one small Velcran juvenile couldn't sleep. It sat in its chamber, shell colors cycling through various shades, processing what it had seen, the human in the corridor, the violence, the protection predator. That's what its instincts had said, the color pattern for predator. But the human had been protecting them, not hunting them. How could something be both predator and protector? The juvenile's translator was basic, designed for simple communication. But it worked. The young Velcran made a decision. It left its chamber and went looking for the human named Da-un. Security monitors tracked the juvenile's movement. An alert went out, but Da-un responded before anyone else could. It's okay, she said into her communicator. I'll handle it. She found the juvenile in the observation deck. The small creature stood by the window looking at the stars. Its shell showed nervous blue colors. Da-un approached slowly, knelt down to be at the juvenile's level. Hello, she said gently. Can't sleep? The juvenile's shell colors shifted rapidly. The translator device struggled to keep up with the quick emotional changes. Finally, words came through. Scared of you, Da-un's heart hurt. But she understood. She had known this would happen. Had known that protecting them would also mean frightening them. I know, she said softly. I'm sorry you saw that. I'm sorry I scared you. The juvenile's shell colors shifted again. Confusion now. Also safe because of you, the translator said. Both true, how? Da-un smiled sadly. How to explain this to a child? How to explain what it meant to be human? Can I tell you something? Da-un asked. Something true? The juvenile's colors indicated yes. I was scared too, Da-un said. During the fight. I was terrified. Not of the pirates, of myself. Of what I was doing. Of what I might become if I lost control. The juvenile processed this. Its shell showed curiosity. You protect us even when scared? It asked. Yes, Da-un said. We protect you because we care. Not because we're not afraid. Bravery isn't the absence of fear. It's doing what needs to be done despite the fear. She paused, choosing her words carefully. Humans are dangerous, she continued. That part is true. But we choose to use that danger to protect instead of to harm. That's the important part. The choice. Every day, every moment we choose. The juvenile was quiet for a long time. Its shell colors cycled through multiple shades, processing, understanding in its own way. Finally, it moved closer to Da-Un, reached out one small limb and touched her hand. The same gesture it had made when they first met. Its shell showed a new color, one Da-Un's translator identified as trust. Still safe with you, the juvenile said. Understand now. Predator protects. Both true. Da-Un felt something release in her chest. Relief. Gratitude. The child understood. Not completely, maybe, but enough. Come on, she said gently. Let's get you back to bed. You need sleep. Tomorrow you continue your journey. She walked the juvenile back to its chamber. Other children watched through their windows. Saw the human walking calmly with one of their own. Saw that everything was okay. Slowly, the fear began to ease. Not completely. Fear was a reasonable response to what they had witnessed, but it was balanced now by understanding, by trust earned through action. Siak watched from the security office. Saw Da-Un tuck the juvenile into its sleeping pod. Saw her check on the other children before leaving. The gentleness in her movements matched the violence she had shown hours earlier. Both were real. Both were her. That was the complexity of being human. Rax, the Throsian ambassador, was already composing his report. The diplomatic corps needed to know about this. Not just the violence, but everything. The control. The awareness. The immediate return to gentleness once the threat passed. Humans were dangerous. Everyone needed to understand that. But they were dangerous in the same way a parent was dangerous, ready to destroy anything that threatened their children, but gentle as breathing with those same children. The galaxy needed that kind of dangerous. Needed protectors who understood the weight of protection. Late that night, Ji-Ho found Hyun-Woo in the medical bay. The xenobiologist was cleared to leave but hadn't moved yet. How do you do it? Ji-Ho asked. How do you live with being both things? Hyun-Woo looked at him, saw a young human struggling with the same questions he had struggled with years ago. The same questions every human struggled with eventually. You accept it, Hyun-Woo said. You accept that you have the capacity for violence. You respect that capacity. You fear it, even, but you also trust yourself to control it, to only use it when absolutely necessary. He stood, wincing at his injuries. And you remember that the violence serves a purpose. It protects, it saves. It stands between harm and those who cannot protect themselves. That purpose gives it meaning. Ji-Ho nodded. He wasn't sure he fully understood yet. But he would. Eventually, all humans did, because being human meant carrying contradictions, gentleness and violence, civilization and instinct, love and the willingness to destroy for love. It wasn't easy, but it was what made them human. And maybe, just maybe, it was what the galaxy needed.